The colony of New Arcadia sat on the edge of space, far from the reaches of human civilization. It was a small world, dry and rocky with mountains that glowed faintly under the light of its two suns. The buildings were simple, made from metal and stone, and the people lived close together to share warmth and safety. Most of them had come from Earth generations ago, hoping to start a new life at the frontier. Now it felt more like a prison. Supplies were low, the water was rationed, and hope seemed as thin as the air they breathed. Elias Carter walked along the ridge overlooking the main settlement. His boots crunched over the dry rocks and the wind tugged at his coat. He was tall, with strong shoulders and a face marked by years of hard work. His eyes were sharp, scanning the horizon for anything that might appear from the dark skies. He had been part of the colony militia for more than a decade, and he had seen how fragile life could be here. The colonists were skilled and brave, but against the Varn Dominion they were like ants facing a flood. Elias had long stopped hoping for outside help. Earth was too far, and the galaxy beyond the frontier seemed to have forgotten them. "Elias," a voice called from behind. He turned to see Mara Lewis hurrying toward him. She was the colony doctor, small but strong, with a calm face that gave people comfort even in the worst times. "They are moving closer," she said, pointing to the sky. A cluster of faint lights was approaching, moving steadily, like predators circling their prey. "They always move closer," Elias said quietly. He shook his head. "We have enough trouble here. No aid is coming." "We face this ourselves," Mara frowned. "I don't like giving up." "Not now, we cannot give up. Not when there are people depending on us." Elias studied the lights for a moment. He could see the shimmer of the Varn ships against the stars. They were strange shapes, angular and dark, moving silently but with a power that made his stomach tighten. He had fought them before in skirmishes near the colony, and every time he remembered the screams and the fire, it made him feel small. And yet he also remembered the courage of the colonists. They were scared, yes, but they were human. They did not bend easily, and that had to count for something. "The militia is ready," he said finally. "But there is only so much we can do." Mara nodded. "Then we do what we must. Come, we should check on the town. The children are scared. They need to know someone is fighting for them." The two walked down the rocky slope toward the colony. From the center of town, a group of colonists was gathered around a small tower where the radio and scanning equipment was kept. They watched the skies with worry. Among them was Sam Reed, a young man with a quiet demeanor who had become the assistant to Elias in the militia. He held a small rifle, a weapon designed for precision rather than large battles. Sam had never been in a fight of this size before. His hands shook slightly as he checked his gear. "Are we really going to fight them?" Sam asked, his voice low. Elias put a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, and we do it together. You will not be alone." Mara moved through the group, offering water and words of encouragement. "We survive by sticking together. Fear is normal. Courage is choice." As night fell, the two suns dipped behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the town. The Varn ships were now closer, the lights sharper, more threatening. The colony's sensors began to pick up signals of energy weapons being charged. The people of New Arcadia had seen this before, and the sight brought a hush over the crowd. Mothers held children tightly. Fathers checked weapons and supplies. Everyone knew that if the Varn attacked in full force, there could be no hiding. Elias climbed the steps to the highest lookout. His binoculars gave him a closer view of the approaching fleet. The ships were enormous, and their dark surfaces reflected the starlight in a way that made them appear alive, as if they could see and judge the humans below. Elias felt the familiar mix of fear and anger. They had come here thinking humans were weak. They had underestimated what it meant to fight for survival. Mara joined him at the top. "Elias, do you remember the old stories? About how humans survive when all hope is gone?" He nodded. "Yes, and yet, I cannot tell the others that hope is not enough. We need more than courage. We need a miracle." Mara frowned at the word. "Then we wait for it." Hours passed. The stars wheeled overhead. The wind carried strange sounds across the rocky plains, sounds of distant engines and the faint hum of alien energy. The colony waited tense and silent. Food was scarce. Medicine was limited. Every day was a struggle, and the shadow of the Varn loomed larger with every passing hour. In the main square, a small group of children huddled together. One of them, a boy named Liam Foster, asked his father, "Will anyone come to help us?" His father looked at him, pain and worry in his eyes. "I don't know, son, but we must be brave anyway." As the night deepened, Elias and Mara returned to the command center where maps and sensors displayed the positions of the enemy. Elias leaned over the table, tracing the paths of the Varn ships with his finger. "They are going to strike here," he said, pointing to the outskirts of the colony where the water tanks and storage units were located. "We cannot let them take the supplies. If they do, we are finished." Mara studied the map silently. "Then we defend here. Every last one of us." The alarm suddenly blared, echoing through the settlement. The lights on the sensors flared red. The Varn were attacking. A small squadron had broken off from the main fleet and was descending toward the colony's perimeter. Explosions rocked the ground, throwing dust into the air. Elias grabbed his rifle. Everyone to positions. "Protect the town!" The militia moved swiftly, taking their places along the walls and makeshift barricades. Sam Reed ran beside Elias, his heart pounding. Mara tended to the wounded as they arrived, quickly dressing burns and cuts, her hands steady despite the chaos. The first alien ships swooped low, firing energy beams that cut through metal and stone. The militia returned fire with their rifles and defensive turrets, sparks flying as weapons struck armor. Elias felt the recoil of his rifle, the sharp smell of burning metal filling his nose. He fired and fired, shouting orders to keep the line strong. Hours passed like this. The battle was brutal but small, a test of endurance rather than skill. The colony held, but only barely. The Varn retreated for now, leaving behind a few broken ships and a trail of smoke. The colonists cheered, but the joy was short-lived. Everyone knew the main fleet was still out there, ready to return stronger. Elias collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. Mara came beside him, her face streaked with sweat and dirt. "We did it for now," she said softly. "But they will come again." "I know," Elias replied, looking up at the stars. "And when they do, we might not be ready. We are alone out here. No aid is coming." His voice carried both sadness and resolve. Mara reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes hope comes when we least expect it, even in the void." At that moment, the colony sensors picked up a strange energy signature far beyond the orbit of their planet. It was unlike anything they had seen. A shape seemed to move through the darkness of space, enormous and powerful, cutting through the black like a comet. Elias squinted at the readings, unsure of what to make of it. Mara leaned over his shoulder, her eyes wide. "What is that?" she whispered. "I don't know," Elias said slowly, a flicker of something unfamiliar, hope, passing through him. "But it's coming." For the first time in years, the colonists of New Arcadia felt a change in the air. They had waited for help for so long, and maybe, just maybe, it was finally coming. The night grew quiet, but the sky was alive with a presence that neither the colony nor the Varn could yet understand. Somewhere in the darkness beyond the stars, a human warship was moving, and it was heading straight for them. The energy signature grew brighter, pulsing in the void like a heartbeat. The colonists stared at the sensors, unable to move or speak. Elias Carter leaned over the console, squinting at the readings. He had seen many strange things in his time on New Arcadia, but nothing like this. The shape was massive, far larger than any ship he had ever known. It moved with purpose, cutting through the darkness of space like a predator. Mara Lewis came up behind him, her eyes wide with both fear and curiosity. "Elias, it's huge," she said. "Do you think it's one of them?" Elias shook his head slowly. "No, the Varn don't move like this. They are precise but cold. This feels different." He tapped the console, trying to read the energy spikes. "It's human," he said finally, almost to himself. "It has to be." The colonists gathered around, whispers spreading through the crowd. Children hid behind their parents, pressing faces against trembling hands. The adults exchanged glances, half in disbelief, half in hope. For years they had waited for help that never came. For years they had prepared to fight alone, and now the impossible seemed to arrive. High above the planet, the massive ship emerged from the darkness. Its hull was long and scarred, painted in the muted silver and gray of old human designs. Engines flared with a blue light, cutting through the vacuum with a soundless roar. It moved toward New Arcadia with speed and confidence, as if it had been expecting this moment. On the surface, Elias raised his hand. "Everyone stay calm. Watch, but stay calm." He felt a strange weight lift from his chest. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to hope. From the command center, Mara activated the long-range communication system. "This is New Arcadia," she said into the transmitter. If anyone is there, identify yourself. We are under attack and need assistance." A crackle of static filled the room. Then a strong, clear voice came through. "New Arcadia, this is the HNS Resolute. We have received your distress signal. Hold the line. Help is on the way," the colonists gasped. Whispers of disbelief spread quickly. Elias's jaw dropped. "It's real," he said. "It's actually real." The voice on the transmitter spoke again. "Prepare your defenses. We will engage the Varn shortly. Keep civilians inside. Repeat, keep civilians inside." On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Laura Briggs stood tall, her hands gripping the edge of the command table. Her crew worked in silence, executing orders with precision. The ship was old and worn, but it was still a force to be reckoned with. Every weapon system was armed. Every shield was online. They had been lost for years in deep space, searching for lost human colonies. When the signal from New Arcadia reached them, they had altered course immediately, knowing the risk to their ship and crew. Approaching the target, Briggs said calmly, "Lock weapons on incoming vessels. I want a warning shot ready in 30 seconds. Her first officer, Daniel Hayes, nodded. "Captain, sensors show the Varn ships are still in the system. They haven't realized we are here yet." Briggs's eyes narrowed. "Then we make them realize. Charge the main guns. When they turn toward the colony, we show them what humans can do." Back on the planet, Elias and Sam Reed watched the sky. The Varn ships, unaware of the new threat, moved in for another attack. Elias felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had trained the militia for years, but nothing could prepare him for this. He had expected death, not rescue. Now something had changed. The first warning came when the Varn ship's energy beams cut through the clouds, striking the outskirts of the colony. Explosions threw debris into the air. The militia fired back, but their weapons were small compared to the alien technology. Sam gritted his teeth and pulled the trigger, the recoil biting into his shoulder. "We need them to last long enough," he muttered. Then a deep rumble shook the sky. Blue energy flared across the void as the Resolute appeared above the colony, moving like a shadow from the stars. The ship's engines burned bright, and the Varn ships finally noticed the new arrival. Their commander, a towering figure known only as Krell, barked orders in their harsh language. "Engage! Destroy the humans!" The Varn fleet changed direction, moving toward the Resolute with speed and fury. Energy beams lit up the void as the two forces collided. The first shot from the Resolute's railgun struck a Varn destroyer, tearing through the armor like paper. The ship split in two, sending fiery debris spinning into space. On the surface, the colonists watched in awe. Mara held the children close, shielding them from the view, but her eyes could not leave the sky. Elias stood beside her, feeling the ground tremble with the explosions. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of fear lift. Humans had come for them. Humans were here. The Varn commander roared, angry and frustrated. "They are not alone. Fall back, regroup." Briggs on the Resolute remained calm. "Target the lead ships. Keep moving. Do not let them hit the colony. Focus on defense." Her crew worked flawlessly, adjusting shields, firing weapons, and monitoring damage. Despite being exhausted from years of isolation, they moved as one. Elias ran to the communications tower, contacting the militia. "Listen carefully. The big ship is here. Follow my lead. Protect the town until they give the order. Do not leave your positions." The militia obeyed, firing at the Varn with renewed energy. Even though their weapons were weaker, the sudden presence of the human warship gave them courage. Every shot they fired felt like part of a larger plan, part of a larger fight. The battle in the sky intensified. The Resolute's railguns and missiles tore through the Varn formations. Alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes, their metal burning in the cold of space. The fleet's commander, Krell, realized they were facing an enemy unlike any they had seen. These humans did not fight for conquest. They fought for survival, for life, for their people. And they fought with precision and courage that terrified even the strongest Varn soldiers. Elias watched as one of the Varn ships broke formation, crashing into a mountain near the colony. The ground shook and dust filled the air, but the town was safe. He turned to Sam. "Do you see that? They are scared. They are scared of us now, too." Sam nodded, a smile breaking through his fear. "I can't believe it. We are not alone." "We are not abandoned," Mara joined them, eyes shining. "Elias, look. The ship. It's coordinating with us. They know exactly where to strike. We have a chance." As the night wore on, the battle continued. Explosions lit the sky like fireworks, but there was no joy in the destruction. Every human on the ground knew the cost of war. Every shot fired was a reminder of what could have been lost. Then came a moment that changed everything. A group of Varn ships tried to bypass the Resolute, aiming straight for the colony's water tanks. Elias and the militia opened fire, but their small weapons could not stop them. "Hold," a booming voice rang across the comm system. It was Captain Briggs. "We have them." From the void, the Resolute unleashed its secondary weapons, firing missiles and plasma bolts that struck the Varn ships before they could reach the surface. The explosion sent shockwaves through the planet's orbit. The militia cheered and the colonists cried. Hope, long buried, returned. Elias looked at Mara, his voice trembling. "They came." "They actually came." Mara nodded, hugging him briefly. "They never forgot us. Humans never forget." Above them, the Resolute moved like a guardian, shielding the colony from further attack. Every shot, every maneuver was precise and deadly. The Varn commander, Krell, realized his fleet was outmatched. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The night sky burned with fire and light, but it was different from the past battles. This was not just survival. This was proof that humans, even at the edge of the galaxy, could still strike back. They could still fight. They could still protect those who were alone. Elias, Mara, Sam, and the other colonists watched in silence. They had seen the impossible. They had seen what it meant to be human. And they knew, without a doubt, that their lives had changed forever. In the darkness beyond the stars, the Resolute moved closer to the colony, engines glowing and weapons ready. It had come from the void to remind humanity of its strength. And for the people of New Arcadia, it was more than a ship. It was a promise. Somewhere in the endless night, a human warship howled through the void, and the galaxy could no longer ignore the humans of New Arcadia. The night sky above New Arcadia was filled with fire. Sparks of light tore through the darkness as the human warship, the Resolute, moved like a predator hunting the Varn fleet. Every shot it fired found its target. Every maneuver was precise, and the alien ship struggled to respond. For the first time, the Varn knew they were facing something more than a colony. They were facing humans who would not bend, humans who would not run. On the ground, Elias, Carter, and the militia worked quickly to repair damaged defenses and organize patrols. The first wave of the Varn had been pushed back, but they were not gone. There were still ships hiding in orbit, still waiting for the right moment to strike. The colonists moved with a mixture of fear and determination. Mothers carried children to shelters, while men and women of all ages joined the militia to hold the line. Sam Reed ran beside Elias, his rifle ready. "Do you think we can actually win this?" he asked, his voice trembling. Elias shook his head, then looked at the sky where the Resolute glowed like a comet. "I don't know. But we are not losing tonight, not while they are here." From above, the Resolute unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts at the remaining Varn ships. Each shot lit up the sky, sending shrapnel spinning in every direction. The fleet's commander, Krell, snarled orders in his alien language, but his ships faltered. They had not expected a human ship to appear at the edge of the galaxy, and now they were forced to fight in ways they had never prepared for. On board the Resolute, Captain Laura Briggs moved from station to station, calm and focused. Her crew followed her orders without hesitation. Daniel Hayes, her first officer, reported incoming fire. "Captain, shields are holding, but they are concentrating attacks on the left flank. Divert all remaining power to forward shields," Briggs replied. "We cannot let them break through here. Target the largest ships first. Sam, fire when ready. Daniel, coordinate with our fighters. Move now." The Resolute had a small squadron of fighter craft ready to deploy. They shot out from the ship like silver arrows, weaving through the enemy fleet and striking Varn vessels before they could react. The pilots were experienced and fearless. Many had spent years lost in deep space training for moments like this. Their bravery gave the people on the ground hope that seemed almost unreal. Mara Lewis ran through the town with a group of volunteers, bringing medical supplies to those injured in the earlier skirmish. The screams of the wounded were loud, but she focused on her work. She had learned long ago that panic was worse than injury. Calm hands could save more lives than panic ever could. Elias ran beside her, carrying water and bandages. "Mara, look. The fighters, they are cutting through the Varn ships. We might actually hold them off." Mara nodded, but her eyes never left the injured. "It's not over yet." The Varn are clever. They will try something new. Her warning came true almost immediately. From the depths of space, a new group of Varn ships appeared. This time they were larger and faster, moving in a tight formation. The colony sensors picked them up, and a collective gasp went through the people on the ground. "They are coming for the city directly," Elias said, his voice tense. "We need to hold the perimeter. Every weapon counts." The militia fired on the incoming ships, but their small weapons barely scratched the alien armor. Just when it seemed the Varn would break through, the Resolute appeared above them, its massive cannons firing in controlled bursts. The railguns tore through the lead Varn ships, splitting metal and fire across space. Captain Briggs spoke calmly into the intercom. "Elias, coordinate the ground defenses. Sam, get your team ready to engage. Mara, keep civilians away from danger. We will hold them." Elias relayed the orders quickly. The militia moved into position, setting traps and barricades along the perimeter. Children were brought inside, and families huddled together, listening to the distant sounds of battle. The first clash was violent. A Varn ship attempted to crash into the colony's water supply, but the Resolute's weapons struck it first. It exploded in a ball of fire, metal fragments scattering across the plains. Elias and Sam cheered, but there was no time to celebrate. Another wave was already approaching. Mara tended to a wounded militia member, a young woman named Clara, whose arm had been badly burned. "Hold still," Mara said, wrapping bandages tightly. "You're going to be fine. Just stay calm." Clara winced but nodded. "I want to fight. I can't just hide while they come for us." "You will fight again," Mara said softly. "Right now you need to live." The battle in the sky intensified. The Varn were clever, using speed and numbers to try to outmaneuver the Resolute. But humans were just as clever. The ship moved like a shadow, anticipating every attack, predicting enemy movements. Every human on board worked as one unit, and every strike carried the force of a world determined to survive. On the ground, Elias coordinated small squads to target incoming fighters that slipped past the main assault. Sam and others fired at anything that came too close to the town. It was exhausting, but their resolve never wavered. They were human, and for the first time in years they felt the power that came with that truth. The Varn commander, Krell, grew angry. His fleet was taking losses he had not anticipated. He roared orders to retreat, but some ships were already destroyed, caught in traps or under the precise fire of the Resolute. Briggs watched calmly from the bridge. "Continue targeting command ships. Break their formation. Show them humans do not fight to lose." The colonists watched as the massive alien ships were torn apart. Flames and sparks danced across the sky. Elias felt a pride he had not known before. They had survived against impossible odds, and now, humans were proving their strength in the void. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the Resolute. The ship shook violently, alarms blaring. Captain Briggs gritted her teeth. "Report," she shouted. "Impact on the starboard hull," Daniel Hayes replied. "Shields are holding, but some systems are failing." Briggs did not flinch. "Divert all remaining power to weapons and engines. We finish this fight no matter the cost." The Resolute's railguns fired again, cutting down the Varn flagship in a massive flash. The explosion illuminated the entire system. The remaining Varn ships faltered, scattering in retreat. On the surface, the colonists cheered, tears in their eyes. Mara hugged Elias, both of them overwhelmed by the victory. "We did it," she whispered. "They came for us." They actually came. Elias looked at the stars where the Resolute glowed against the darkness. "This is only the beginning," he said. "They showed up, but we still have to survive what comes next." "And we will. We have to." The night sky settled into a tense quiet. The Varn ships that remained fled toward the edges of the system. The colonists began to move through the streets, checking on the wounded and assessing the damage. Buildings were destroyed, supplies lost, but they had survived. The miracle had arrived. Captain Briggs stood on the bridge, looking at the system. "We've given them time," she said softly. "Time to recover. Time to prepare. The galaxy underestimates humans, but they will not forget this day." The Resolute's engines burned brightly, a beacon in the dark. The ship had come from the void, answering a signal that no one else could reach. It had fought with precision, with courage, and with the quiet certainty that humans never give up. Elias, Mara, Sam, and the other colonists watched the ship slowly retreat to orbit. It moved like a guardian, not leaving them but making sure they were safe before returning to the stars. The first battle was won, but the war was far from over. The colonists gathered in the square. Children clung to their parents. Adults looked to Elias and Mara for guidance. For years they had waited in silence, thinking no one cared. Now they knew that help could come from the unlikeliest of places. Humans were strong even when forgotten. Humans never truly abandoned one another. Elias raised his voice, addressing the crowd. We survived tonight, not because we were strong alone, but because someone remembered us, and one day we will repay that courage. We will show the galaxy what humans can do. Mara stepped beside him, holding the small children close. And we will live. We will rebuild. We will survive. That is what it means to be human. As the dawn approached, the skies glowed faintly with the first light of the suns. The battle was over for now. The Varn were defeated, but they were still out there waiting. And somewhere in the endless void, the Resolute moved silently, watching, ready to fight again if needed. The people of New Arcadia had seen what it meant to have humans on their side. They had seen courage, precision, and strength that no alien fleet could ignore. And for the first time in years, they felt the impossible truth. They were not alone. Somewhere in the darkness beyond the stars, the human warship had howled through the void, and humanity had reminded the galaxy why it was never to be underestimated. The battle was far from over. The Varn fleet had retreated for the moment, but Elias Carter knew they would return. His body ached. His hands were cut and burned from holding his rifle, yet he could not rest. The people of New Arcadia were exhausted, but their eyes were wide with fear and hope. They had survived the first attack, but survival was only the beginning. Mara Lewis moved through the streets, tending to the wounded. Her hands shook as she bandaged another young man, but she did not stop. You will live, she said firmly. That is all that matters right now. The injured nodded, grateful, and she moved on. Elias gathered the militia in the command center. They will come back, he said quietly, his voice tense. And next time they will come with more ships. We need a plan and we need to be ready. Sam Reed nodded, gripping his rifle. Do you think the Resolute will return? Elias hesitated. I hope so. We cannot count on them to fight our war forever. But for now they gave us a chance. And we must use it wisely. High above the planet, the Resolute drifted in orbit. Captain Laura Briggs stared at the tactical displays, her face tight with concentration. The ship had taken damage during the battle, and several systems were failing. Her crew moved quickly to repair the hull and shields, but the repairs would take time. Daniel Hayes, her first officer, approached. Captain, our engines are holding, but the railguns are overheating. If the Varn returns soon, we may not be able to fire at full power. Briggs did not look away from the screen. Then we fight with what we have, she said. We protect the colony. That is our mission. If we have to risk the ship, we risk it. They cannot fail. Humans never fail when it matters most. The sensors on the Resolute detected a movement deep in space. Another Varn squadron was emerging from behind a nearby asteroid field. They were larger and more heavily armed than the first wave. Briggs's eyes narrowed. They underestimated us before, she said quietly. Now they will pay. Back on the ground, Elias and Mara watched the sensors. They are coming again, Elias said. This time it will be worse. The colonists prepared as best they could. Barricades were strengthened. Weapons were checked. Families were moved to safer areas. The town was quiet, but the tension was thick. Every person knew that the next attack could destroy everything. The first signs of the Varn approach came as small streaks of light in the sky. Fighters moving fast, weapons charged, aimed directly at the colony. The militia opened fire, but it was clear their weapons would not stop all of them. Then the Resolute appeared, moving like a guardian through the stars. Its shields glowed brightly, absorbing the incoming fire from the alien ships. The warship's engines flared as it maneuvered to intercept the Varn. Captain Briggs issued orders calmly. Fighters engage. Railguns ready. Shields maintain at maximum. We protect the colony no matter what. The human pilots launched from the ship, weaving through the enemy fleet. They fired with precision, targeting the largest Varn ships first. Explosions lit the sky as alien vessels were torn apart. Elias and the militia fired where they could, trying to protect the town. Sam Reed ducked behind a barricade, pulling his rifle up to fire at a fighter swooping close. We have to hold, he shouted. The battle was fierce. The Varn commander, Krell, had learned from his previous defeat. He sent waves of ships at high speed, attempting to overwhelm the Resolute and the colony defenses at the same time. The sky was filled with fire, smoke, and debris. Captain Briggs gave a quiet order. "We cannot hold them all. Prepare for sacrifice," Daniel Hayes frowned. "Captain, what do you mean?" Briggs's voice was steady. "We must draw the main force away from the planet. If we stay to fight everything here, the colony will be destroyed. We take the battle to them." Elias and Mara watched as the Resolute moved forward, closer to the Varn fleet. Energy beams struck the ship, shaking it violently, but it did not retreat. The human warship was acting as a shield, protecting the colony below. "Captain Briggs," Daniel said, worried. "This is dangerous. We could lose the ship." "We may lose it," she admitted, "but the colony survives. That is what matters. Humans fight to protect life, even at great cost. That is who we are." From the ground, Elias saw the human ship take heavy fire. Sparks and flames flew from its hull, but the engines held. He turned to Sam. "Do you see that? That is humanity. We fight no matter the cost." The Varn fleet began to focus on the Resolute, leaving some ships to harass the colony, but most concentrated on the human warship. The battle in space became a deadly dance. The Resolute dodged attacks, fired back with precision, and used every weapon at its disposal. On the planet, Mara guided the colonists to safety. "Stay low. Don't panic. Help each other." She moved among the frightened people, her calm presence giving them strength. Elias moved with the militia, setting traps and firing at any Varn ships that came too close. Each time a fighter approached, Sam Reed and the others managed to force it away with steady fire. They were exhausted, but they did not stop. The Resolute fired its main cannons, tearing through the Varn ships. Explosions lit the dark sky and debris scattered across the void. Captain Briggs watched every move, calculating, adjusting, always focused. She knew the ship could not survive indefinitely under this attack. But she also knew the humans on the planet needed her. "Shields at 20%, a crew member reported. "Then we make every shot count," Briggs said. "Divert power to weapons. Target the command ships. Destroy their leadership. That will turn the tide." The Varn commander realized his fleet was under attack. His ships wavered, unsure of how to respond to a human ship that seemed fearless. The Resolute used this hesitation to strike decisively. Railguns tore through the lead ships, splitting them in two. Explosions lit the darkness, and the remaining Varn began to scatter. On the ground, Elias and Mara watched in awe. The humans above were risking everything for them, and it was working. The Varn ships faltered, their attacks losing precision. The colony had a chance to survive. "Keep fighting," Elias shouted to the militia. "They are breaking. Don't let them recover." The militia fired with renewed energy. Even their small weapons made a difference when combined with the firepower of the Resolute. Children and families watched, their fear slowly turning to hope. They could survive this night. The Varn commander roared in frustration, realizing his plan had failed. His fleet was damaged, his ships destroyed, and his crew shaken. He gave the order to retreat. The remaining alien vessels pulled away from New Arcadia, disappearing into the void. The sky fell silent. Smoke drifted across the mountains, and the stars shone once more. Elias lowered his rifle, breathing heavily. Sam Reed stood beside him, smiling with relief. We made it," he said. Mara hugged the children close. "Yes, we did. And it's because of them," she said, pointing toward the stars, the humans in the ship above. "They saved us." Elias looked up at the Resolute, still hovering in orbit, damaged but intact. Captain Briggs and her crew had risked everything to protect a distant colony. They had shown the true meaning of courage. "Humans never give up," Elias said quietly. "No matter how far away they are, no matter how impossible it seems, they fight." Mara nodded. "And now we have a chance to rebuild. We have hope again." The colonists began moving through the streets, checking on the wounded, salvaging supplies, and repairing damage. The first wave of relief had arrived, and it had changed everything. Captain Briggs on the Resolute issued final orders. "We have held them off for now. Prepare to repair and resupply. We may need to return. But the colony is safe. That is enough for tonight." Her crew worked quickly, stabilizing the ship and repairing critical systems. They knew this victory had come at a cost, and they were ready to face whatever came next. Elias, Mara, and the others gathered in the main square. Children clung to parents, adults shared relief and tears, and for the first time in years they felt truly alive. Humanity had come to the edge of the galaxy and reminded everyone what it meant to fight for life. Somewhere in the void, the Resolute drifted silently, engines glowing faintly. It had risked everything to protect a small colony. It had shown the galaxy that humans, even at the edge of space, would not be forgotten. Elias looked around at the people of New Arcadia. "We survived tonight because humans never give up," he said. "We survived because someone remembered us. And we will survive again no matter what comes." Mara squeezed his hand. "And one day we will repay that courage. One day humanity will remind the galaxy why we are never to be underestimated." The suns began to rise over the mountains, casting light on a world that had seen death and destruction but also hope and courage. The battle was not yet over, but the people of New Arcadia had survived the night. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the stars, the human warship waited, ready to fight again if needed. For the first time in many years, the colony felt safe, not because the war was finished, but because humans had come. They had fought, they had risked everything, and they had shown that even at the edge of the galaxy, humanity would not be ignored. The night had passed, and with it, the first true victory. But the galaxy was still watching, and the humans of New Arcadia knew that their fight was far from over. The sky over New Arcadia was calm now. The fires of battle had burned out, leaving smoke drifting across the mountains and plains. The stars were clear and the suns began to rise, casting soft light over the battered colony. The people moved slowly, taking in the damage and counting their blessings. The Varn fleet had retreated, broken and afraid. For the first time in many years, New Arcadia could breathe freely. Elias Carter walked through the streets, helping repair broken walls and damaged barricades. He was tired, every muscle aching from hours of fighting, but he felt a warmth in his chest that he had not known in years. Humans had come for them. Humans had fought for them. The thought filled him with pride and hope. Mara Lewis moved beside him, carrying supplies to the shelters. She looked at the children who played quietly among the ruins, and she smiled. "They don't know how close they were to losing everything," she said softly. Elias nodded. "And they may never have to. Not while humans are out there. Not while we have people who care enough to fight across the stars." Sam Reed ran up to them, holding a crate of water. "Do you think they will come back?" he asked. "The ship, I mean. The humans who saved us?" Elias looked up at the sky where the Resolute had disappeared into the distance, back toward the void. "I hope so," he said. "They may have to repair, or they may have other colonies to protect. But they will not forget us. Humans never forget." In the center of the colony, the people gathered to tend to the wounded and rebuild what they could. Families embraced, tears of relief streaming down their faces. For weeks they had feared the worst, waiting in silence for something that might never come. Now they had seen the impossible. They had seen courage, strength, and humanity at its finest. Mara moved through the crowd, checking on those in need. She found Clara, the young militia member who had been burned during the battle. Clara smiled weakly when she saw Mara. "I thought I would not make it," she said. "You made it," Mara replied, adjusting the bandages. "You survived. That is what matters. And one day you will fight again, but for now rest." Elias approached a group of militia members, all exhausted but alive. "We held the line," he said. "We protected the colony, but we must not forget what we saw tonight. Humans can reach across the stars. They will not leave us alone, and we are stronger than we knew." The colonists nodded, understanding the weight of his words. They had seen courage that came from beyond their world. They had seen the will of humans who refused to allow weakness or fear to win. And they had survived because of it. High above the planet, the Resolute moved through the void. Captain Laura Briggs surveyed the stars, her face calm despite the damage her ship had taken. The engines were stable, the shields repaired, and the crew worked efficiently to fix what had been broken during the battle. Daniel Hayes approached her. "Captain, we did what we could. The colony is safe and the Varn have retreated. But they will return eventually. We need to consider our next move." Briggs nodded slowly. "We always knew they might return. But the people down there needed us today. We reminded them what it means to be human. That is enough for now. The galaxy will remember it too." The crew worked in silence, repairing hulls, adjusting shields, and preparing weapons. They had fought a battle far from Earth at the edge of the human sphere, and they had succeeded. They had protected lives that no one else had reached. And they had proven something important. Humans would fight, humans would protect, and humans would never be underestimated. Back on the planet, Elias and Mara walked to the highest ridge, looking out at the settlement. The smoke from destroyed buildings drifted in the morning light, but the town had survived. Children were laughing quietly as they explored ruins, and adults were helping each other rebuild. Elias took a deep breath. "We are alive because they remembered us," he said. "Because they risked everything for a colony they had never seen before." Mara nodded. "And that is what makes us human. Even when we are far apart, even when the galaxy forgets, we fight for each other. That is strength. That is courage." Sam Reed joined them, carrying a small pack of supplies. "Do you think we will ever see them again?" he asked. "The humans in the ship?" Elias smiled. "I don't know, but I hope so. And even if we don't, we will remember what they showed us. We will fight, we will survive, and we will be ready. That is what it means to be human." The day passed slowly. The colonists worked to repair the town, salvage supplies, and care for the wounded. Each action, no matter how small, was a testament to their survival. They had been saved once, but now it was their turn to protect each other, to rebuild, and to prepare for the future. In orbit, the Resolute prepared to leave the system. Captain Briggs looked down at the planet through the view screen. The colony was safe, small but alive. She felt a quiet pride in what had been accomplished. Her crew had risked everything and they had succeeded. "Set course for the next human colony," she said. "We have work to do. Humanity is out here, and we will remind the galaxy of that every day." The ship glowed as it entered the void, engines burning brightly. It moved like a guardian through the darkness, a reminder that humans were never truly alone. They were far from Earth, scattered across the stars, but they were united in courage, in strength, and in the will to survive. On the surface, Elias and Mara watched the ship disappear. "They will come back," Elias said softly. "We will see them again. Humans never leave each other behind," Mara nodded. "And we will be ready. We will rebuild, grow stronger, and be proud. The galaxy will learn not to underestimate us. We are human and we survive. That is all that matters." The people of New Arcadia began to gather supplies and repair homes. The sense of fear that had gripped them for years began to lift. They had been tested and had survived, and they had been reminded of the power of humanity, the courage that could cross the void, the strength that could protect even the most distant colonies, and the will that would never bow to any enemy. Days passed, and slowly the colony returned to a sense of normalcy. Children played in the open fields, laughter echoing across the mountains. Adults rebuilt homes, repaired vehicles, and planted new crops. The scars of battle were visible, but they were also a reminder of the day humans had come for them. Elias worked with the militia, training new recruits and preparing for any future attacks. "We must not be weak," he said to them. "We have seen what is possible and we must be ready. Humans fight for life, and so must we." Mara continued her work as a doctor, helping the injured recover fully and preparing for any future medical needs. "We survived because someone remembered us," she said quietly. "Now it is our turn to remember. Remember our courage, our strength, and our humanity." Weeks later, a faint signal appeared on the colony's sensors. It was weak, almost imperceptible, but it carried a message. The Resolute had left a beacon, a message for the colony to know that they were still near, still watching, still protecting. Elias and Mara gathered the people. "This is proof," Elias said. "Humans never forget. They are out there watching, protecting us, and we will continue to grow, to survive, and to be ready for whatever comes next." Mara smiled, looking at the horizon. "And one day we will remind the galaxy of what humans can do. We will show them strength, courage, and resilience. Today we survived. Tomorrow we will thrive." The colony continued to rebuild, stronger than before. Supplies were restocked, defenses were reinforced, and hope returned to the hearts of the people. The battle had tested them, but it had also shown them their true potential. They were human, and that alone made them powerful beyond measure. In the void beyond the stars, the Resolute drifted, engines glowing faintly. Captain Briggs and her crew prepared for their next mission, ready to protect another colony, to fight for humanity, and to remind the galaxy that humans would never be ignored. Elias, Mara, and the people of New Arcadia knew that their world was safe for now, but they also knew the galaxy would continue to challenge them, and they were ready. Humans survived, humans fought, and humans never gave up. The suns rose fully over New Arcadia, bathing the town in light. The smoke had cleared, and the air was filled with the quiet sounds of life returning. Children laughed, adults worked, and humans, far from home, had once again proven that courage, hope, and strength could cross any distance, overcome any enemy, and survive against all odds. Somewhere in the endless void, the human warship had howled across the stars, and somewhere on the distant world of New Arcadia, humans looked to the sky and knew this truth. They were never alone, they were never forgotten, and they were unstoppable when they fought for each other. The battle was over, but the legend of that night would remain forever. Humans had come from the void, they had fought with fury, and they had reminded the galaxy what it meant to be human. New Arcadia survived, humanity survived, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again.